Hi, my name's Diane Miller. Are cameras rolling? I think so. My name's Diane Miller. Welcome to the Just Kidding Around show. I'm so excited about today's program. We are re-welcoming Dan Bennett. Hi, Dan.
Hey, Diane.
Dan and I have done several shows before. Dan is part Canadian, and for many years he worked in Canada at a science, sort of like the Pacific Science Center, right?
Yeah.
Big science thing.
The Edmonton Space Sciences Center.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
So we've done a lot of science shows, and he's also a fabulous artist, so we've done a lot of art shows. But today's show, this program is actually about how Dan changed his life fundamentally, and he did something that not a lot of people have done, but I think everybody could do it, and he's here to teach us how. Is that well said?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
That was great.
What is this, Dan, what were you diagnosed with?
In 2007, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I weighed 90 pounds more than I did. My cholesterol was high. My blood pressure was high. My blood sugar was 450.
Ooh, ouch.
It was really high. I barely exercised, and I ate rice pudding and ice cream before bed. Yeah.
Sounds delicious to me.
Oh, that was the life for me, for sure. Well, not really. So I was diagnosed with diabetes, and my doctor said my blood sugar was 450, and my doctor said you need to change your diet, do more exercise, and consider medication. And I said, well, give me 90 days to see if I can bring my blood sugar down with diet and exercise alone. And my doctor said, okay. And I asked her, I said, so what kind of exercises am I supposed to do? Because I hate jogging. And she says, oh, you'll be fine. Don't jog. You'll blow your knees out in 5 years.
Oh.
Yeah. And she said, either go swimming for half an hour to 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
A day?
2-3 times a week.
Okay.
Or do speed walks 2-3 times a week.
Oh.
And I asked her about the speed walk, and she said, you do the speed walk, you walk as fast as you can for about 40 minutes, and what that does is that uses every single major muscle group in your body. Same with swimming, you use every single muscle. That's why you're so tired after swimming, because you're using every muscle. And what that does is it creates a physiological change in your body where your cells that are starving for sugar and not getting it in type 2 diabetes get reactivated. It does a physiological change, and insulin lands on your cells, and it starts receiving sugar and feeding all of your cells.
Okay, so if anybody's out there and they are a diabetic, do you recommend they start exercising?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Out of the 100 people or so that I've met that have had diabetes, maybe 5 have worked very hard to change their diet and exercise. Most of the people...
Just accept it.
Well, yeah, I never ended up taking any medication. The most common one is metformin. There are several others. And essentially, they don't want to diet. They don't want to have to diet.
Right.
They don't want to have to exercise. They just want to be able to take a pill, and then their blood sugar is reduced, and they can continue their lifestyle, and they end up getting heavier and heavier, taking more and more medication. They eventually have to go in and have surgery and have their toes removed, or their kidneys become damaged, or they go blind.
I have a very good friend, and if he eats too much rice or whatever, he says, oh, no big deal. I'll just, take more insulin. It's no big deal to him. And that's sort of, I think, the mindset of a lot of diabetics. And I don't want to be rude, but maybe that's how they got to be diabetics. Is that rude for me to say?
No, because it's true. And most of the people that I've talked to, that I've preached at about changing their lifestyle, diet and exercise, I say, just do a speed walk for 40 minutes 2 or 3 times a week.
So even without changing your diet, you think just exercising?
Half. That'll do half.
That's half the battle.
Yeah.
So what did you, after speed walking, what was your blood sugar then?
It took about a year for my blood sugar to just slowly come down. I mean, it went down pretty soon, about a week after, because I went in a week after, and my blood sugar was down to 200 something.
Whew, That's still pretty high.
And then after that, it stayed around 150 and got lower and lower over time.
Okay.
And about 4 years ago, my doctor told me I didn't have diabetes
Isn't
anymore.
that unbelievable?
Yeah. And I said, there's a cure.
So how long was your walk then? How long did that take you to get from a blood sugar of 500 down to reasonable?
Well, within a week, I'd done 4 speed walks, and my blood sugar had gone down. But in addition to that, I was watching my carbs like crazy.
Okay. So, but I don't want to go on yet. So, I want to ask you this: who cares if you're diabetic?
Well,
why should we care?
Well, what happens with diabetes, we get sicker and sicker.
Sicker? You throw up?
No, you get less and less energy, and you get damage to all of the tiniest capillaries in your toes and your fingers, your eyes, and your kidneys.
So it's very damaging.
Yeah.
It's they have blindness. It's actually the third leading cause of death, I think.
Blindness or diabetes?
No, not blindness, diabetes. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Diabetes kills a lot of people.
Okay.
Half of the people over the age of 60 have diabetes or
really?
pre-diabetic.
Okay. Is it possible there's people watching this show that are diabetic and they don't know? They have no idea.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. When I was sick and before I went into my doctor and I felt crappy all the time, I was super thirsty and I felt like my veins and arteries were like if you had hoses in your body.
Goodness, yes.
If all of them were overpressured, you'd find it hard to move around.
So you actually could feel it.
And I felt this pressure in my stomach and heart and back, and I had kind of a headache all the time. And
so if we have people
crappy
in our viewership and they're diabetic and they want to get off their meds, we are not professionals and we cannot recommend that.
No.
But you, from experience, can suggest power walking or swimming at least 3 days a week for 40 minutes. Is that what I'm hearing?
About 40 minutes, yeah.
Okay, and then after you get that, you can only take your blood sugar down so far. So the next step is what?
Avoiding carbs.
Okay.
And I've gone around telling people that I'm a carb Nazi just because the American diet of today is super rich in carbs. We're told in the commercial industry to avoid fat. It's all about avoiding fat. Don't eat fat. Don't eat fat. And it's not true. Fats aren't the problem. Eating fat doesn't make you fat at all. Anyone that tells you that.
But we've believed that for 25 years.
Yeah, 30 actually.
Really?
30. Wow. They did this big thing where you remember the food pyramid?
Oh, yes.
And the main one was all carbs.
Oh my God.
Breads, grains, starches, all that stuff, and oils were the little tiny bit. But we can our body can process fats and oils way easier or just as easy as it does carbs. But what happens is we eat a bunch of carbs, which are either complex forms of sugars and starches or simple sugars and starches. And our body breaks them down and then stores those in fat cells.
Okay. So can you show me, how do I know if a food has carbs or fat in it? How will I figure that out?
Okay, so what we have here is a bag of peas that I bought. And I like peas, they're pretty good in salads and whatnot. But I bought peas, and so the first thing that I didn't worry about cholesterol, didn't worry about fat, salt, none of that. I didn't worry about any of that because I was totally focused on watching my carbs, and it made all the difference in the world because it
So exercise and watching your carbs.
Yeah.
But again, we're not doctors. This is what your experience, and you're no longer a diabetic.
I made it go away.
Wow.
Yeah. So the first thing I looked was serving size. If you can see the serving size here, and then it says how many servings in a bag. So if you took a quarter of this bag of peas, then you would have whatever the serving size, and it tells you the gram, but it's about 2/3 of a cup. So 2/3 of a cup is right about this, what you have here. If you filled that with peas, you would have 1 serving size. And these glasses are great right there, these glasses. These are normal 6-ounce glasses, and so, 4 or 5 ounces is pretty close to that. So I looked at the serving size, and then I go down here and I look at how many carbs there are in 3/4 of a cup of peas. And that says, how many is that?
12.
12 grams.
That's not much, is it?
No, not at
Well,
all.
how does a person out there know if it's a lot?
My
What would a
doctor
lot
told me.
be?
My doctor told me,
Okay.
and the diabetes professionals that I talked to afterwards said, don't eat more than 60 carbs per meal.
Where's the 12? Right there.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, 12 carbs.
12 carbs. That tells you the carbs. And that's all at first you really need to worry about.
So the other important thing that my doctor and the other folks told me was that when you eat fiber, you can take off carbs of your meal.
Oh, and peas probably have some fiber in them.
4 grams.
Oh, so peas are really good
Oh
then.
yeah. Oh,
I thought peas were kind of starchy.
Yeah, they are. But
they're still okay.
yeah, there's a lot of fiber in them. So the rule is for people with diabetes, and it's a very simple formula, for every gram of fiber you eat, you can discount or minus 2 grams of carbs.
Okay.
So if I eat 50 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fiber, then I can take off 20 grams, and that
30.
ends up being 30. The fiber helps it get through your system. Your body doesn't absorb as much of the carbs.
So as much fiber as we can get and as little carbs.
Yep.
Are the carbs related to sugar?
Sugar is a carb. It's the simplest form of carbohydrate, the simplest form, because you can get sucrose, galactose, dextrose, maltose. These are all chains of sugar, and the longer it is, the more it's called a starch after a while. But you can have 2 sugar molecules stuck together, and that's called maltose or dextrose or something. I don't remember. And then you can have 2 sets of those stuck together. You can have a sugar, and then a dextrose or a maltose together, or galactose and a maltose together, and they all have different names. But essentially, they're single sugar units, like trains in a car, like cars in a train. And you can disconnect them or reconnect them. But carbs are sugar are carbs.
Okay.
Starches are sugars that are
So
not
if the
broken
sugar's high, chances are the carbs
That's
are high.
carbs. Oh, yeah.
Okay, what about fruits, fresh fruits? I brought in strawberries today, and tell me about that. I mean,
So fruits and vegetables should be someone with diabetes. It should be their mainstay. They should be eating mostly fruits and vegetables. Meats have almost no carbs. You eat a regular hamburger, that might be 1 carb.
yeah, but the bun has carbs.
Probably 30 or 40, depending.
Yeah. So you're talking about hamburger, toss that bun, right?
Yeah, and that's why these low-carb restaurant choices, they wrap them in lettuce. And it ends up being like 5 carbs. Because you got a pickle, and that has 1 or 2 carbs. You've got ketchup in there, that's 1 or 2 carbs. You might have mayonnaise, which has probably no carbs.
Okay.
And then a pickle and stuff.
So it sounds to me
Cheese
like
has no carbs.
Okay, it sounds like you know your carbs real well. So
I do.
let's say you didn't know them and you had a bad weekend and you ate a lot of cheesecake and some hamburger buns and macaroni and cheese,
That'll
which
do
is
it.
just, if you like that kind of diet, you better watch it because diabetes could be around the corner. I mean, it could be. I'm not saying it will be for sure. So, could you go back? Would your blood sugar spike real fast? Could it?
Yeah.
So you still have to always watch yours,
always, forever. For the rest of my life,
Okay.
I need to have probably 4 meals a day. Each meal should be less than 50 carbs. I need to make sure that there is lots of fiber. For instance, this bag over here, let's take this one down and
have
put
some
this
tape
one over
if you need
here.
to tape it up.
This one is really cool. This is a bag of coleslaw mix, which is primarily cabbage and a little bit of carrots. And so a serving size is, what does that say, about 4/5 of a cup. So most of a cup, right?
Okay.
Of coleslaw.
Okay.
Right, and with coleslaw, you can add all kinds of stuff in it. It's vinegar.
And there's hardly any
onions.
carbs at all in that.
Well, yeah. Serving size is just this is 5 grams. Now notice over here that the fiber, where's that fiber? Where's that? Dietary fiber is
2? Is that what
2
that's?
grams.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 grams. So,
Oh my goodness.
so 5 grams, and you take off 2 grams of fiber
Right.
for that. So it's 1 carb.
That's amazing.
So having a bunch of coleslaw
It's
is
only
carb.
1 carb. Okay, but that's easier said than done. What happens if I love macaroni and cheese, but I don't like coleslaw?
Well, generally for my purposes, I really missed ice cream, and I really missed pie, and I really missed cake, and I really missed my rice pudding. I love rice pudding.
Okay.
So my rule is that I had to figure out how many carbs was in that,
Okay.
and then have no more than 20 carbs for dessert.
So you did allow it, you just
yeah.
monitored it.
Yeah. I just had less of it. Whenever I would go to a restaurant, if there was a piece of pie, I would split it with someone and have half a piece of
Okay.
pie. Instead of 3 or 4 cookies, I would have 1 cookie. Instead of a brownie, I would cut the brownie in quarter and I would just nibble on the
You
brownie.
had to be a little bit strict with yourself.
Well, yeah,
So,
I still got things that I loved. I just couldn't eat a lot of them.
okay. So is diabetes, is it related to weight, do you think?
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of people think, well, I don't care about diabetes. Well, do you care about your waistline? I mean, you know, it's
Yeah.
going to make a difference. Like you said, you lost 90 pounds.
Yeah.
So not only did you cure yourself of diabetes, but you also lost 90 pounds.
Oh, it was amazing. I had no plan or concept of losing weight. I figured I would lose a little weight in the process, but I ended up losing over a period of about a year. It might have been a little bit more. Over a period of a year, it might have been less even. I lost 90 pounds. I went from 240.
I don't remember you being too heavy.
Oh, just look at my old mental health news
Okay,
hour shows. Yeah, I got a big round face.
Okay, I'll have
I had
to
a
go
big
look
old
at
belly.
it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I lost about 1 pound a week, and it just came
Wow.
off so gradually. I didn't notice the change, but every time I would go to a family reunion or go somewhere else and just show
people
up
would
somewhere else,
see
they're
it.
like, "Oh my God, you lost so much weight!" Blah 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 blah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
Even if a person doesn't have high blood sugar,
Right.
this would be a great way to kind of monitor your health and your
Oh,
waistline.
The other benefit to doing the regular exercise is
Uh-huh.
my blood pressure went down,
Ah.
my cholesterol went down, my stamina for everything else went up. There were a few other things that just improved.
Okay, so it's
I had more
not
energy.
just about blood sugar, but you
I
know
had
now
way more energy,
this
too.
is all out there. This information's out there, but you know, I'm sure a lot of it's just opinion. But people are starting to say that Alzheimer's is also related to
Yeah.
blood sugar.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about your weight, you don't care if you keep getting fat, then keep eating carbs. If you don't care about your blood sugar or diabetes, keep eating carbs. If you don't care about losing your mind and getting Alzheimer's, then keep eating carbs.
One of the
Right?
one of the most common reasons that I've heard for people not doing the exercise, well, my knees are bad, or my
Okay.
ankles hurt,
Yeah.
or my hip is
Yeah, I
this
hear
or
that.
whatever.
I hear that.
all the time. And it's some sort of an excuse for not
Lots of
doing what they need to
excuses
do.
out
Lots
there.
and lots and lots.
I
of
got them
excuses.
too, yeah.
Oh, me too. Me too. I have lots of reasons.
That's
not
why the
to,
elliptical is great.
Yeah, well, I
'Cause
have
if you
lots of
go-
reasons not to put on some grubbies or whatever
Yeah.
and go for a walk
Yeah,
and get back and
it's
be all sweaty.
raining,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
cold,
Yep.
it's dark. That's one of my big
Or it's
excuses.
super hot. Yeah, yeah. Either
It's
too hot,
amazing
too
anybody
cold,
gets
whatever.
out there to
Yeah,
exercise.
but all I tell them is you just walk as fast as you can.
Okay.
Make an effort. You're worth it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
are. You're worth it. You deserve
Yeah.
to be healthier. And if all it is a walk, that's all. It's just a walk. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to be in a group. And you get yourself a little MP3 player like I did.
Yeah.
And you put the dance beats in it.
Just dance. My sister lost a lot of weight
Yeah.
dancing. But now, so these are all labels. You brought all, thank you, Dan. So you brought all these labels for us to read. But
Yeah.
what would happen if we just ate whole food and we didn't eat any processed food and we just ate fresh or cooked fruits and vegetables?
Diane.
Then what would happen?
Well, I brought this little thing here, and this is some processed food that I have here. And the bag of chips is some processed food too. But essentially, what I found out is in this processed food, there's a ton of ingredients. A ton of different ingredients, fillers and preservatives. and they really
Fillers.
Yeah. This is really not a big serving at all, right? And it says 1 package, 1 container, and this is like 40. What is that?
43 grams.
43 grams of carbs, and it has 2 grams of fiber. So there's a lot of sugars and starches that.
And is that one of the brands that actually has healthy? And I know we shouldn't oh my gosh, okay, don't let them see it.
Lean cuisine.
Ooh, that's one of those brands
but
that
it's been
promises
packaged.
to make you skinny.
Yeah,
Not
and
going to happen.
what you can also do, if you have the internet, what I used to do all the time is I wasn't sure how much a whole food was as far as carbs went. And so I just went into Google and I said, how many carbs?
Oh, in
Potato.
a papaya. Oh, potatoes are bad.
Potato, papaya, avocado, squash.
Yeah. And what was
tomato.
I remember, what did you tell me was your miracle food? Do you remember?
Squash.
Squash. You get more bang for your buck from squash, and it looks like peas, too.
Yeah, peas, mixed vegetables.
I got to remember that. Because I remember how excited you were a couple of years ago. It's like squash,
Oh, yeah,
you get all
yeah.
this fiber and
Yeah,
you would
yeah, if
think
you-
squash would have a lot of carbs.
I thought
because
so.
potatoes do.
If you take an equal amount of squash and an equal amount of potato, squash has half the carbs.
Unbelievable.
And I don't remember how much more fiber, but
Yeah.
it's a ton more fiber. Beta carotene.
And that's what
other
I'm thinking
nutrients.
too. It's got beta carotene for the eyes,
Yeah.
so squash is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, we honestly don't have that much time left, but I want to give you a little test.
Okay.
And I have questions for you.
Okay.
I'm into probiotics, and I don't
Okay.
know how probiotics fit into this whole thing, and maybe they don't at all. But I'm holding in my hand, I'm covering up the label because we're not supposed to advertise up front. But I'm holding in my hand a bottle of kombucha.
Oh, kombucha.
Do you have any, this one happens to say 10 sugars, 12.
Okay, 1 serving is probably 8 ounces.
Yes, so I've got 2 servings here.
Okay.
2 servings, and in 2 servings there's 12 grams of carbohydrate. Do you
that
think,
is
is that
great.
okay for me?
That is great.
So it's a better choice than pop?
Way
Because there's a lot of kombuchas coming out. In fact, Olympia makes a kombucha. If that drops and breaks, you know how much trouble we're going to be in?
There we go.
A lot.
And this is sweetened cranberry juice.
Now, this is a cranberry juice, and wouldn't you think that would be really, really healthy? And it's got 29.
For 8 ounces.
It's got 3 times the carbs as the...
Yeah, almost 3 times. Yeah.
And this is actually a high... a lot of kombucha is much lower than that. That's pretty sweet for a kombucha.
Yeah. Most sodas that you drink, an 8-ounce glass is anywhere between 30 and 60 carbs.
Okay. Now, I have a question for you. In my hand, I have a spray oil that you would spray in a...
Like Pam or something?
I can't mention names, but yes, that you would spray in a
Okay.
pan to cook with. And I also have down here some spray whipped cream.
Okay.
Which is going to have the most carbs, whipped cream or the oil?
If the whipped cream is sweetened, the whipped cream is going to have way more. I've never actually read how many carbs are in whipped cream, but Pam should have 0.
0 carbs. Well, we're not allowed to say names.
Everyone knows what it is, so it's like.
Is that the only?
it's like
is that the
Q-tips.
only label of? Okay, but I'm not going to put up there. 'cause I don't wanna-
There are like generic brands of the spray pan oil, but Pam is commonly known, and so
Now-
there should be 0 in that one.
This is my favorite brand, and unfortunately it's sweetened. Why don't you talk about
that
yogurt? Should we have
yogurt?
cow's yogurt, goat's yogurt? How do you weigh in on that?
Okay, when I first got diabetes, I looked at something, I wanted something sweet and creamy. I was going crazy for something yummy, sweet and creamy to eat. And I looked at the yogurt, and yogurt has tons of carbs in it.
Who would think
Tons of
that?
carbs. Yeah, and then I looked for all kinds of things, but I found that cottage cheese
Oh,
is really low in carbs. I could have a cup of cottage cheese. It was like 10 carbs maybe, if that. It wasn't much. And then I would throw in a couple chunks of pineapple.
okay. So cottage cheese would be a better choice.
Way better.
Of course, yogurts have probiotics
The other
in them.
thing too, if
This
you,
has 25 grams,
if you
by the
take
way.
2 servings of cottage cheese that are the same brand and the same kind, and one is low fat, right? Because we're told
Low
not to
fat
eat
means
that.
high sugar.
The low fat means they add more
High
starch to
sugar.
it.
We're so trained.
Yeah, low fat has way more carbs.
I learned that from a girlfriend years ago. So the bottom line to this show is you can make a difference when it comes to diabetes. The two things you need to do is 1, read labels, 2, exercise, and I also brought...
Oh, good, you brought that test
Wait,
kit.
now I don't want to show product names.
Well, you're
but-
not endorsing it, are you?
Okay. I don't have problems right now with diabetes, but I worry about it mainly actually because I don't want Alzheimer's disease, and I've heard that Alzheimer's disease is diabetes 3. You know, you have diabetes 1, diabetes 2, and now, you know, if you got a sweet tooth, they're finding people that have Alzheimer's have sweet tooth. So I think, oh, great, just what I don't need.
Yeah, really.
So I bought a glucometer, and I test my own blood sugar at home.
Okay.
So, and you can buy any set. There are so many different sets, right?
Yeah,
Is
there's
this
all
the brand
kinds of
you
different-
use right here?
No,
Okay,
I have a
lots of
different brand.
sets. But in the set that you use, in the set that you own, there are 3 things you should have. And what are those 3 things?
You should have the meter itself.
Okay, wait. There should be a little meter. Looks something like that.
Yep, you should have a little meter.
Is that what your meter looks like, pretty
No,
much?
mine's shaped a
Okay,
little
looks
different.
different.
Yep.
And then what else would you have?
The next thing is you should have the they're little flat little strips that, they're flat little strips that you put the little drop of blood onto and stick it in the meter.
Drop of blood.
And it reads
Does
it.
it hurt? Hurt to prick yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. A little bit, not you know,
And-
1 to 10, about a 2 or 3.
And
Okay,
then
we have
in
1
that-
minute left.
In that is the lancet.
That's the lancet, which you stab yourself with. And then that goes inside of this. And so I do my fasting blood sugar every Saturday morning.
Oh, wow.
Just for Saturday entertainment.
Okay.
What do you think about a 95, 93?
Perfect.
Okay, but then once I eat, if I eat and I test it, then it's like in the 140s.
Yep.
So I'm
Standard.
good now.
Yeah, you're good. Your
'Cause-
blood sugar will go up to 140, 150, and then that's when the insulin kicks in and it starts grabbing the sugar in your blood and starts feeding your cells. What happens in type 2 is that level, that 150 level, because the blood sugar is so high all the time, goes up to 200, then 300,
Okay.
then 400, then your body doesn't know when to send the insulin in, and you have tons of insulin and tons of blood sugar floating
So
around.
do you think people in our viewership would be wise to get one of these kits? Mine was like $20, I
Yeah.
think. What
Yeah.
was yours? About that?
Yeah.
They
yeah,
don't
about
cost a ton. And monitor it yourself. What happens if they do theirs and it's really high? Get to a doctor right away.
Yeah, do diet and exercise.
Yeah,
and
don't
watch
try and
out.
handle on your own. If you have high blood sugar, go to a doctor.
Yeah,
and
don't-
get a good doctor like you had.
Don't wait.
So don't wait. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thanks so much to Carl, John, and Luke who put this show together.
Yeah.
And to Maxwell.
And,
Thanks.
yeah, someone else.
And be healthy. What's the other name we need?
I forget her name. She was helping.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.